A Clay County constable is in jail charged with stealing money from a fundraiser.
A Southern Kentucky man claims to be a U.S. Marshal but is taken to jail when the real police show up.
A mother is trying to build a special playground for her daughter in Mercer County. Coming up, we'll explain why she's asking for your help.
This is WKYT News at 5:30.
Good evening. The money is supposed to go to help sick children, but an elected law enforcement officer in eastern Kentucky is accused of keeping that money for himself.
The Clay County Sheriff says Constable Donald Watson was helping the local Shriners with a fundraiser selling bags of Vidalia onions. But when they went to collect, Watson didn't pay up. Victor Puente is in Clay County with our top story at 5:30.
Clay County Sheriff Kevin Johnson says this isn't the first constable they've had that's been in trouble with the law. He says there's little local oversight of the position or the people who fill it. The warrant for Donald Watson's arrest was filed yesterday. The police say this crime started weeks ago when he got 76 pounds of Vidalia onions from the local Shriners. The onions were meant to be sold as a fundraiser to help children with medical needs. According to that warrant, when the organizer of the fundraiser asked Watson for the $760 they had expected to raise by selling the vegetables, he told them he didn't have it. The sheriff says they gave Watson a few weeks before filing a criminal complaint. He also said Watson claimed the money had been stolen from him.
His excuse is that somebody had broke into his vehicle and had stolen the money, and he had reported it to the Kentucky State Police, which has obviously been proven to be false.
Johnson says because Watson is an elected official authorized by the state's constitution, there isn't much they can do concerning his position.
And if we are going to have these individuals out here performing a job, they ought to be trained in the job they're performing, versus just here's your gun and here's your badge and have at it.
Johnson says they took away Watson's radio equipment, which is connected to the sheriff's department, a few weeks ago when these allegations first surfaced. In Clay County, Victor Puente, WKYT.
Johnson says deputies went to arrest Watson last night, but he wasn't at home. He turned himself in this morning. Some storms and showers are pushing across the bluegrass again tonight.
But the big threat, the potential for flash flooding the next few days. Let's check in now with Chief Meteorologist Chris Bailey. You've been telling us for many days this was coming.
Yeah, and here we are now getting those thunderstorms this evening. And across southern Kentucky, complex of thunderstorms threatening to go severe. And as a matter of fact, we have those big complexes of storms across the entire area. Let's go into southern and southeastern parts of the region. Just issued a severe thunderstorm warning out for a part of Knox County into Whitley County. That does include Williamsburg, Barberville. We included you in that as well. That will go until 6 o'clock this evening. It's really for a couple of storms. And yes, there's a severe weather threat, but I'm telling you folks, if you're in this area, the flash flood threat is the greatest right now. This storm to the southeast of Williamsburg has not moved over the past half hour. It is likely putting down enough water to create some at least minor flooding issues here around Barberville toward the eastern part of Knox County. Additional thunderstorms going up between Lebanon and Campbellsville. Let's go into northern parts of the region now. Look at that complex of storms east of Louisville into Newcastle, Henry County, northern parts of Shelby County. Other thunderstorms around Frenchburg up to the Moorhead area. Thunder and lightning just to the north of Interstate 64. Big complex of storms slowly working across Menifee County. Additional scattered stuff to the southeast of that, and we're watching a flash flood warning that is out until 7:45 parts of Floyd and Pike counties. It's a setup that is going to throw a lot of rain our way over the next few days. We'll run down the latest hour by hour when I come back in a few.
A late-night knock at the door ended with a southern Kentucky man in jail accused of posing as a federal agent.
It happened this week in Laurel County. A woman called 911 when a man showed up at her door after midnight claiming to be a U.S. Marshal. WKYT's Phil Pendleton has the 911 call that led to the arrest.
Laurel County deputies received a phone call very early Tuesday morning, just after midnight, from the 911 center after a woman called there claiming that a man was knocking on doors, claiming that he was a peace officer, but stating that he was actually looking for somebody else.
We have a vehicle in my driveway that's come and introduced itself as a U.S. Marshal.
That call came from a woman on Glenview Drive in London. The man said something about a woman's bracelet going off, the electric was out, and that she needed to be drug tested.
John Root checked it. It is not. He is not a U.S. Marshal, and I am scared to death. This man is huge. I don't know.
When he's arrived, 46-year-old James Lorman was arrested for impersonating a peace officer.
We don't think that this was an isolated incident. We think that he possibly did know the people that he was trying to contact.
And when en route to the sheriff's office for questioning, police say he tried to fake having a medical issue, then would not get out of the cruiser.
We had to physically remove him from the police cruiser, so he was charged with disorderly conduct as well, resisting arrest.
And police say they're still trying to figure out exactly what the connection the man was trying to make with being a U.S. Marshal, the electricity being out, and this woman supposedly needing a drug test. They believe it was all pretty much just bogus. In Laurel County, Phil Pendleton, WKYT.
Police say Lorman did have a gun in his possession but had no ID on him showing he was a U.S. Marshal.
A second escape inmate is back behind bars today. 30 begins in Bell County. Bobby Holman was rearrested last night in Bell County. This is some video of him being loaded into a cruiser and taken back to jail. The jailer says that Gary Mills has also been recaptured. Police say that Holman, Mills, and Raymond Farr walked out a door that was open to cool down the jail. Police are still looking for Farr. In Pulaski County, a restaurant is showing its appreciation for first responders today. Gold Star Chili teaming up with Silent Guard today for the First Responder Appreciation Day. Any first responder in Pulaski County can stop by Gold Star and receive a free meal. Part owner Barbara Sears says that she and her co-owners are frustrated after recent shootings of police and just wanted to say thanks.
A Mercer County mother is on a mission for her disabled daughter. Crimson Claycomb has already raised $37,000 to build a special needs playground for her, but she still needs more than $200,000. As Mark Barber reports, the family says this playground could change their lives.
Kendall Claycomb is 5 years old. She contracted meningitis when she was a baby, so doctors didn't think she'd live longer than 3 weeks. This happy little girl can't walk or talk, and she's partially blind. But none of that has kept her from shattering expectations.
I am her voice, and I took on the challenge a long time ago to be the best advocate for her that I could be.
Crimson Claycomb has convinced the county to approve a $250,000 playground for children with special needs.
You want to go play for a second?
She has already won $37,000 for the project through a grant. Now she's dreaming big for her little girl, asking people to help her raise the rest, $213,000.
I've always heard and been told that God provides, and He will.
This playground is more expensive than typical playgrounds because the equipment is anything but typical.
The playground that we have is accessible by ramps all the way around. You don't have to worry about picking her up and packing her, and you may trip and fall and hurt her, but you can, just let her enjoy herself. Let her be a kid for once.
Claycomb wants to build the playground here at Anderson Dean Park. While she has not secured all of the funds yet, she's holding a groundbreaking ceremony on Friday because she's on a deadline.
It would be wonderful to be able to send out a Facebook post or a story on the news to tell, all of you kids get a playground for Christmas.
In Mercer County.
And I think that would be the best gift
Mark Barber,
that any of them can receive this year.
WKYT.
And that would be a great gift. If you would like to try and give to the project, you can find a link on our website. Just head over to WKYT.com.
A man who ran a charity set up to help children dealing with serious illnesses is in jail after diverting money from the program to himself. He took more than $90,000. The donors and the families involved are outraged.
Your kids would qualify for the HERO program because they're listed as terminally ill children.
Stephen Wetzel was the director of a children's charity called the HERO program.
It was a program that was to be for things that insurance would not cover. So gas, transportation, if you needed help with utilities at a certain point.
Christy and her children attended many fundraisers and worked to help the charity as much as they could.
One of the things that people looked at was the fact that everything that they spent went directly to the families, all 100% of the donations.
The HERO program raised more than $300,000 to help families in need. or so the families thought. When Christy was in jeopardy of losing her home, she asked if the fund could help.
He said, unfortunately, the organization had no money to give me.
When families began comparing stories, there were a lot of discrepancies.
He was doing things for other children and the other families, and that was not the case.
When they signed up, they would receive something, but as time went on, he would lose contact with the families.
Postal inspectors say Wetzel did not give the money to sick children. He spent it on himself.
He remodeled his kitchen. He did landscaping at his own house. He bought thousands of dollars of things at sporting goods stores for his own personal use.
Inspectors say the investigation was heartbreaking.
It was so offensive and so disheartening to the families that a lot of them cried because their child was used as pawns in these fundraisers.
I have forgiven him because I am a forgiving person. Will I ever forget? No.
Stephen Wetzel pled guilty to mail fraud and tax evasion for stealing more than $90,000.
A new temporary splash park has opened in downtown Lexington. Why city officials hope to make it permanent. That story in 6 minutes here on WKYT. Hillary Clinton has become the first woman to ever be nominated for a major American political party.
And the candidates for U.S. Senate are campaigning across the bluegrass this week. Bill Bryant has the bottom line.
Good evening. As the Democratic National Convention continues, Hillary Clinton's running mate Tim Kaine told a group today that it is time for men to support strong women leaders. The Virginia senator and former governor addresses the convention tonight. Last night, the convention nominated Hillary Clinton for president, making her the first ever nominee of a major American political party. Scores of Bernie Sanders delegates walked out in protest, but Sanders himself made the nomination official and again pledged to work for Clinton. Former President Bill Clinton gave the night's major primetime speech as he talked about his wife of more than 40 years and detailed what he called her constant efforts to move the ball forward.
For this time, Hillary is uniquely qualified to seize the opportunities and reduce the risk we face. And she is still the best darn change maker I have ever known.
Republican nominee Donald Trump lashed out on Twitter. He called Bill Clinton's talk highly overrated, and he said the Republican convention was more interesting than the Democratic get-together. Tonight, President Obama and Vice President Joe Biden will be speaking at the DNC. Kentucky's U.S. Senate candidates roll on. Republican incumbent Rand Paul, who is seeking re-election this year, was in Campton this morning where he discussed economic freedom zones. Paul was in Lexington this afternoon for a town hall meeting at the public library. Then he was off to Shelbyville before more events tomorrow in the Louisville area. His Democratic challenger, Lexington Mayor Jim Gray, is back from his trip to eastern Kentucky, where he released a four-part plan to try to revitalize the economy of the area that has been so long dependent on coal. Senator Mitch McConnell will be in Lexington tomorrow for some events, and he'll be taping an interview with me for this weekend's edition of Kentucky Newsmakers. We'll talk about current issues facing the country, the fall elections, and his autobiography called The Long Game, where he talks about growing up and his extensive career in politics. Bill Bryant, WKYT.
Lexington's Downtown Development Authority and the Parks and Recreation Department have teamed up to help keep folks cool this summer with a temporary splash pad at Northeastern Park. Officials first realized the need when they saw people taking a dip in the fountains at Thoroughbred Park. That water isn't chlorinated or filtered, so they decided to create a safer alternative. With the success of this pilot program, the next step will be to apply for grant funding to create a permanent installation.
Now, your hour-by-hour forecast with Chief Meteorologist Chris Bailey.
Well, the main show arrives tomorrow, but the opening act out there this evening with the thunderstorms is already underway. Let's look outside and show you that most of the area is under a flash flood watch over the next couple of days through Thursday night into Friday morning. And across southeastern Kentucky, we have a severe thunderstorm warning for parts of Knox and Whitley counties, where we are also getting in on a ton of rain here as well. So that severe thunderstorm warning will go until the top of the hour of 6 o'clock. Also, newly issued flash flood warning out for those same counties. That'll go until 8:45. These storms southeast of Williamsburg are not moving at all, you're going to get some flash flooding in a setup like this. So watch those creeks and streams. That warning, by the way, gets just to the southwest of downtown Barberville. Those storms extend a little farther to the northeast. And again, very slow movers. Also, a slow moving thunderstorm drifting to the north out of Taylor County into Lebanon, Marion County. Lexington Metro okay for now, though we're watching some big thunderstorms developing from Louisville toward Shelbyville and Newcastle. Then look what's going on around Moorhead to Vanceburg and Maysville. Thunderstorms here, packing a punch right on top of Interstate 64 now into northern parts of Rowan County. Slow-moving thunderstorms heading into Morgan County, putting down a lot of heavy rain as well. So we'll watch the creeks and streams here. Southeastern Kentucky, showers and thunderstorms with very heavy rains. Flash flood warning out until 7:45, parts of Floyd and Pike counties. Overall, the trend is going to be for more thunderstorms to develop. And as we go into the day tomorrow, we're going to see those storms become likely with some flash flooding issues, a good possibility. Heavy downpours with any storm Friday and into Saturday as well. Here's the hour-by-hour forecast, and concentrate on this big complex of storms that starts to develop tomorrow to our southwest. Look at 8 o'clock in the morning. Look at I-65. Now watch what happens. Models continue to try to put this big complex of storms into central and eastern Kentucky as we go through the afternoon heading into tomorrow evening. That would be the possible flash flood maker on top of what we are already getting out there now. So you got to watch the creeks and streams over the next couple of days. That thunderstorm threat, by the way, will remain right on into the coming weekend and into most of next week. But tomorrow will be a WKYT First Alert Severe Weather Day for the possibility of some additional flash flooding issues. Guys, these are slow-moving storms out there. We'll call this the opening act to the bigger show tomorrow.
All right, we're going to need some time to dry out, though, eventually after all
I don't see it
this.
coming for a little bit, though.
All right, Chris, thank you.
Live look at Lexington rush hour traffic this afternoon. Clear the trouble on the north side. We're okay for outbound Newtown Pike now approaching the circle. Just normal heavy traffic to deal with there. Drive times are holding our own to Nicholasville to Versailles. Once traffic clears the construction, add new circles to straight shot past the Woodford County line. Now back to you in the studio.
Just ahead, Nyquist will return to the track. Rob?
The Derby winner is back racing this weekend on the East Coast, and hurdler Kendra Harrison back in Lexington talking about her world record and the disappointment she was able to overcome. Sports is next. Hurdler Kendra Harrison is back home with the world record in the 100-meter hurdles. In the span of a couple of weeks, she went from the most disappointing moment in her career to the best.
Yes, it's the best moment I ever had on the track.
Last Friday night, Harrison exploded out of the gates at the Diamond League event in London. She would finish in world record time.
And well, it has been, where the clock has been corrected. It is a new world record.
At first, the time said I ran 12:05, so I wasn't too excited. I was just happy I won. And then when I looked again and it said 12:20, you know, all the hard work that I put in, you know, it really showed, and I was just really excited for that moment.
2 weeks before, in Eugene, Oregon, Harrison was trying to make the Olympic team. But with a trip to Rio on the line, she finished 6th. It was a devastating moment.
The Olympic team, that was my fault. I didn't go out there and do what I know I could have. So going into London, I wanted to show these girls that, you know, I had one bad day, and to get back up when, you know, things don't go your way.
I was concerned a few days after the trials because she was just in a bad, dark place. It was scary. Even my wife had to talk to her, and she was just having a tough time dealing with the fact that the disappointment was real. And the worst thing is, each day it gets worse and worse.
Edric Florial is the man who coached Harrison at Kentucky, and she credits him with the success that she's been able to enjoy.
I think Coach Florial is a great coach, and he's a coach that coaches for my style. He's really patient, he understands this event, and he has really passion for this event, and he has passion for myself, and I think that just goes a long way in this sport.
Watching her cross the line and break the world record was almost like, you know, kind of a deep sigh. I sat down for a couple of seconds because I just needed to kind of vent out like, okay, it's over now, we can move on, because she really needed to do something like that to be able to move on with the next phase of her career.
Kentucky Derby winner Nyquist will make his first start since the Preakness in the $1 million Haskell Sunday. The 2-year-old champ will face Exaggerator, the horse who defeated him in the Preakness, giving Nyquist his first career loss. Also in the race, Gunrunner. third-place finisher in the Derby. Brody's Cause, 7th in the Derby. And Bob Baffert's American Freedom, the lightly raced son of Pulpit. Baffert looking for a record 9th win in the Haskell. That will be at Monmouth Park on Sunday. Henry Clay on 27 teams in 27 days in the next half hour. Stay with us.